17 games on the MLB slate for a Wednesday, thanks to some rainouts and some doubleheader action that we got coming your way. Which of those 17 can we be making money on? That's what you're here to find out here on First Pitch. WagerTalk TV live, 11 a.m. here on the East Coast, 8 a.m. on the West Coast. And joining me, I got Tokyo Brandon and I got Bryan Power for a little Wednesday edition. We're going to touch upon those doubleheader games. Guys are really liking some things in game 2 as far as it is concerned over there with Tokyo Brandon. We'll talk White Sox and Twins game 1 with Ober and Fetty Wap with our man Bryan Power. Best bet coming up in the Brewers and the Pirates. So we appreciate you tuning in, making us a part of your day while you're hanging out. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe and hit that little bell, and you'll always know when we're going live. TB, let's get right into it, man. No time to waste with the game starting at, 1:45 here already. So you don't want to talk about that one with Marsh and Palante. You want to talk about game 2, which has a little bit more of an intriguing pitching matchup, I would say, with Gray and Waka, Cards, Royals. Yes. One thing, again, I want to find out what you think about this, but ISOing in on game 2 right away, so you don't think you have to factor in anything that happens in game 1. You're fine pre-flop saying, I find value in game 2. This is what my numbers say. I don't care what happens in game 1.
Yeah, I know. It's not 8 a.m. here in Tokyo. It's actually midnight, but that's cool. You know,
well,
that's
that is
why I got the shades on, because I don't need bright lights in my eyes at midnight. So a lot of cappers like to avoid game 2 of doubleheaders, but to me, I don't, because although we're not guaranteed what the lineups are going to be, I do like to factor in the pitching matchups and how they perform against the batters on the other team. And in the worst case, both teams are going to be, resting the same amount of guys. So I really don't think I pretty much think it's a non-factor, the fact that it's a game 2 of a doubleheader. And what intrigues me about the game I'm going to cover here, which is the Royals and Cardinals game 2 of today's doubleheader, is the pitching matchup. We've got Sonny Gray going against Mr. Pac-Man, Waka Waka Waka. So what I like about this is both teams are hitting quite well. And I've said before in shows before that I use my database to rank teams, lineups, starting pitchers, and bullpens. I take my 250 or so starting pitchers and rank them on a curve of 30. So I have both teams ranked right at 10 in hitting in Major League Baseball, but I have the Cardinals with a pretty solid advantage in bullpen. I have them ranked 16, where I have the Royals ranked 22 out of 30 teams. Starting pitcher, though, I have Sonny Gray ranked 6, and I have Waka Waka ranked 9. So not a huge discrepancy in starting pitching until you dig a little deeper and see how they've done against. Yeah.
TB, I just wanted to hop in here. So apparently just flashed across the screen here that they're changing pitchers. It won't be Sonny Gray here coming up in game 2. I didn't want you to have to do your whole breakdown and be like, it's a different guy going. Apparently Graceffo is who's going to be pitching today. Again, this literally just happened while you're speaking, so I'm sure it completely changes how you're doing this game, but I didn't want you to sing another song about Sonny Gray and then have him not go tonight. So I just wanted to drop in, apparently Graceffo, the guys who's going to be going this evening.
Well, I can still give a play on this because my play was going to be the Cardinals because I like how Sonny Gray pitches against the Royals in his career. But if the pitcher has been changed, let me tell you, Waka has a horrible history against these batters. He has a 73 at-bat sample size. He gives an average against of 329 and an OPS against of 1,081, which is absolutely horrible. So my play was going to be the Cardinals here. But if Sonny Gray's not going, then I would definitely make this a team total for the Cardinals. Whether it's 3.5 or 4.5, I definitely would take an over on this because the Royals bullpen, as I just said, is ranked 22 out of 30, which is towards the bottom. And the Cardinals are hitting in the top 10 right now in MLB run production. Plus, Waka's horrible history against the Cardinals. So I'm changing my play from the Cardinals money line to Cardinals team total over, which is still a good play given Waka's history against these batters. Thanks for letting me know that, Dan. Appreciate it.
No problem. It's doing a great job behind the scenes with our man Joe Ranieri, who he's your motivational speaker here in the mornings. TB. He was just wanting to make sure that you knew we were having a pitch and change there. How we do it, baby. It's how we do it. Brian Power knows all about that with the morning wager, getting up and ready to go, getting some folks some winners. All right, let's if we broke down game 2 there for Cardinals and Royals, let's talk game 1 that's going a little bit earlier here in the day. Ober and Fetty in the White Sox and the Twins game 1. TB is actually going to be taking a look at game 2, hopefully while he's doing his breakdown. There will be no pitching changes in that one. But as far as Fetty Wap is concerned here, are we doing the old Adam Trigger, give me the run and a half? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Is that the way that you're looking to attack this game?
Yeah, but first off, Dan, very impressive from Tokyo Brandon to just be able to turn on a dime right there and still give out a play. If there was a pitching change in the middle of one of my breakdowns, I probably would have started crying in the middle of the show and just demanded we start over. So
fetal position.
I was very impressed by that. Yeah, that was very good. So fortunately, I have a look. This is great for me because yesterday's game between these teams obviously got rained out. And full disclosure, I was set to take the White Sox plus 1.5, the old Adam Trigger special, as a 3% play. Given we've got the same starting pitching matchup for game 1 of today's doubleheader, why not just come back with that? And the key to the handicap, Dan, is that Fetty Wap is on the mound. Our boy, he's a much better pitcher at home, where he's 4-1 with a 1.64 ERA and a .91 WHIP. That being said, he pitched pretty well his last time out, which was here in Cleveland. He allowed just 1 run on 3 hits over 6 innings. The White Sox won that game as big underdogs on the money line. His lone career appearance against the Twins, it was back on April 23rd. Old Fetty Wap again allowed just 1 run in 6 innings and he had 11 strikeouts in 0 walks. The thing is, he's pitched a lot on the road recently. 6 of his last 7 starts have come away from home, so he's got to be thrilled to be a guaranteed rate field. Probably the only person in America who's thrilled to be a guaranteed rate field. I had to get that in there. But on the opposite side of the coin, we have Bailey Ober starting for Minnesota. His ERA on the road, full 1.5 higher than it is at home. And earlier this season, when Ober faced these White Sox, he allowed 4 runs in 6 innings and finished with only 3 strikeouts. Not a very good outing there. Dan, I know the White Sox are the White Sox. They're 0-8 against the Twins this season. They've allowed 6 or more runs in 7 of those losses. For what it's worth, they allow about a full run less per game at home than on the road. But the key here with the head-to-head series against the Twins, a lot of these games have been close, guys. 3 decided by 1 run. 6 of the 8 games, get this, this blew my mind, have seen the White Sox hold a lead of at least 2 runs, and yet they're 0-8 against the team. That's incredible. And that includes Monday, where they were up 5-2 and lost 8-6 in 11 innings. Condolences if you had the plus 1.5 there. But my gut, admittedly a little bit bigger than it used to be, tells me the White Sox are going to win the first game here. But that bullpen does give me pause, Dan, so I'd rather bet Fetty Wap and the boys plus 1.5 on the run line.
I saw it in the chat here, and shout out to the chat over on YouTube. Shout out the chat that's popping on TikTok. We're going to get to a question from D over there in just a moment, but we had the Trig special from our man Tyler. He goes, you think Trig's going to be parlaying White Sox plus 1.5 with White Sox plus 1.5? Like the only thing that our man Adam Trigger would love more than betting the White Sox getting a run and a half is betting them twice in one day. Yep. So shout out there. Lone Star also wants to hear about the O's team total. We'll talk about that here in just a few. But first, I want to get to D over on TikTok. As if we talked about game 2, guys, we have to talk about game 1, Kansas City Royals and the Cardinals. The question is simple. Money line. Which way are we going in this one? Marsh, Palante, TB, since you were breaking down game 2, I'll throw it to you first on this one. Any thoughts on the money line? A lean to either side in that one, and we'll get Brian's thoughts as well. But for you, TB, you already capped game 2, so what do you think about how game 1 maybe shakes out?
Yeah, the Cardinals have a huge advantage in the bullpen, and I know a lot of people like the Royals starting pitchers, but Marsh is not one of their good ones. I actually have him ranked 19th out of 30 on the 30 curve. So he's a little bit below average of a pitcher. And I think the Cardinals are hitting the ball a little better than the Royals lately, despite yesterday's result. Palante, he has decent numbers against the Royals, but it's just a small sample size. And Marsh has never gone against these Cardinal batters before, none of them. So the only thing we really have to go on, big discrepancy in the bullpen. So if I was going to bet this, I'd take the Cardinals. Palante's not a household name. And he has, kind of a little bit of a dreadful 1.44 whip there, but Marsh's whip is not that great either. I'd go with the Cardinals if I had to, but as I've said before, the advantage to us being sports bettors as opposed to blackjack players is we don't have to play every hand that's dealt to us. We can pass. So I'm not going to bet this game.
Yeah, I'm wondering for you, Bri, it does seem like if you do want to get that Cards money line, then you probably want to grab it here sooner, as we saw it open, around that 140, ticking up in some spots. So you in agreement here on game one, or do you see it shaking out a little bit different? Or do you have something else that you're maybe eyeing that's outside of just picking a side here to start off the day?
Yeah, Brandon, he talked about the Cardinals team total over game two. How about looking at the Royals team total under here in game one? Dan, Kansas City has the biggest home versus road split of any team in all of baseball offensively. They average 5.2 runs per game at Kauffman Stadium. They average only 3.9 runs per game on the road. They're bottom five in pretty much every metric away from home. 28th in WRC plus, last in BABIP. Palante, okay, Brandon, he mentioned that they haven't exactly, he's not a household name, but he's allowed 1 or no earned runs in 4 of his last 5 starts. You talk about WRC plus, the Royals against righties, 86 WRC plus over the last month. That is dreadful. I don't think Kansas City's going to put a lot of runs on the board here in this first game. This is a team probably to sell the rest of the season, as fun of a story as they were the first 2 months or so.
I agree with that. Yeah. The Royals are everyone's darling, but I'm not high on this team at all.
Yeah, I get where you guys are coming from. And again, I feel like with how baseball is just set up, and it's something that we talk about here on the show a lot, it's really finding these streaks, being able to ride them, finding the teams that are hot, because just that a team is great all season long, or this team's probably going to be around it at the end of the year. Take the Yankees, for instance. If you've just been paying the Yankees tax over and over and over again, you've been banging your head against the wall. If you can find some spots with these teams that maybe you're not as high on in these little bursts, that's where you're going to be building your bankroll in MLB. That's definitely the way to cut the teeth there, so to speak. Guys, question here from Lone Star. Lone Star. I bet you he's got some nice Spurs, nice Burrows, nice cowboy hat that might be able to rival Tokyo Brand. He might be from Texas. Lone Star, roll call. Where are you tuning in from? Lone Star asking, curious your all thoughts on laddering. If he said y'all, we would feel better. But laddering the O's team total today, wind blowing out. Imanaga fly ball pitcher. Thanks. No, thank you, Lone Star, for tuning in and asking the question here. I'm going to take a look and find what the team total is here. But as far as this game's concerned, talking about finding teams that have the little quiet streaks going, that's the Cubs. And look no further than what they did last night in game one against the O's. So really what Lone Star is asking is, the bats who kind of went silent yesterday and all the hitting was really coming on the side of the Chicago Cubs, does that kind of reverse to the mean here? And we see some runs stacking up for the home side of Baltimore. BP, any thoughts on a Baltimore team total? I'll take a look here at the numbers of the ladders and the plus money that he could potentially be finding there. But how do you see this game too shaking out?
Yeah, just a couple quick notes. The weather conditions, by all accounts, seem conducive to a lot of runs today. It's going to be warm, hot, dare I say hot, in Baltimore. Wind is blowing out. Now, the interesting thing with Imanaga is, and we've talked about this on the show a couple weeks ago. We maybe even talked about it multiple times. There's only one lineup that's seen him twice so far the entire first half of the season, and it was the Mets. And what happened that second time the Mets saw him? He got ate up. He was terrible. So this is the Orioles' first time seeing him. So maybe just leave that out of the equation. Yeah, you think Baltimore maybe has a bounce back. I don't know. Baltimore bounce back day at the plate. I don't know. I guess you could play the team total. It's not something I was looking at, but looking at these weather conditions, yes, They are hitter friendly. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I guess you do go with the team total, even though Imanaga, save for that one start against the Mets, has been pretty good.
Yeah, and you might be able to find a little rogue 8.5 out there, but we're pretty much looking at 9 painted across the board here. With how Chicago's been hitting and what they did yesterday, it seems square because of the weather, because of the wind blowing out. But TB, I know you're not as big into the totals, but instead of ISOing in on a team total, would you think at all about potentially going with the game over? I know now that it's sitting at 9, we're loving that key number, potentially having a little push potential there. But if you do think Baltimore's bats come alive, I know it's Corbin Burns on the mound, so that maybe that's what lessens your excitement about what you're going to see of a repeat performance out of Chicago. Any thoughts on this game? Any thoughts on the totals specifically?
Yeah, regarding the team total, I would shy away from that, namely for 2 reasons. Number one, I have the Orioles ranked. They came out of the gate swinging, and the Orioles have a great roster. They have a great farm system. They are just replenishing. They're never going to let up all season. And as we know, baseball is a marathon. So longevity is definitely on the Orioles side. But currently, I have them hitting 14 out of 30 teams. So very mediocre. And I have their bullpen ranked 19. Imanaga has given up 16 runs in his last 3 starts, which is quite alarming. If you even take away the 10-burger he gave 3 starts ago, he's still giving up 3 earned runs in each of his last 2 starts. But the Orioles lineup, just a little too mediocre at the moment, not in great form. Plus the fact that they've never seen Imanaga before would make me shy away from that team total. It's probably 4.5, right? So, I would not bet a team total here. If anything, I'd take the Orioles in the first 5 because Burns is a much better pitcher than Imanaga. Yeah, Burns is a much better pitcher than Imanaga, and I have the Orioles hitting a little better than the Cubs right now.
Pitching advantage is the look there. You have anything to wrap this one up with, Bryan, before we run to another game here?
Yeah, just one quick note, follow up on that weather. Normally I see a total move from how this one has up to 9. You mentioned that being the key number, Dan, and that would scare me off. I will note yesterday we saw favorable weather conditions lead to a similar move on an over in Boston and Oakland, and look at what happened in that game. Everyone was talking about, what hitter-friendly conditions it is. That game went over the total in the second inning. So maybe, if you do like the over, I would say maybe don't be scared about the move perhaps here, even though we have hit the key number.
Yeah, and again, you're sitting at that key number, but like you mentioned, this kind of sets up if you think there's going to be the positive regression, as our man Lone Star was hopefully looking for there. And by the way, Lone Star said it's Massachusetts he's tuning in from, not from Texas. He's a Spaceballs fan. So Lone Star Spaceballs fan. Whenever we have TB on here, we got some timely references. So how about a Spaceballs reference there for you? Yeah, sometimes I don't get enough gel in this hair. I'd be looking like Darth Helmet, low key. So I love the scene. I know.
My favorite scene from that movie is when they're combing in the desert, and he's like, "You guys found anything yet? Haven't found anything, sir." Yeah. And then they go to the guys using the pick. I don't think I can say the F word, but it's a great scene.
Yeah.
And of course, the combination to my luggage is 1, 2, 3 for the record. That is,
well, of course, it's the combination for all.
Great movie.
It's
great movie.
No, brilliant man for sure. Hop below in the comments. I know probably we're not going to get many of them over on TikTok. I don't know how many Mel Brooks fans we have tuning in on TikTok, but favorite Mel Brooks movie. Hop below in the comments here
History
on YouTube.
of the World
Let
is
us
a good
know.
movie too.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It was a movie last night, gentlemen. Was all the cavalry returning for the Philadelphia Phillies. That was a true
what a segue that was. My God.
Well, Tokyo Brandon said 10-burger the other during his breakdown, and I was just like, well, I know what game I'm talking about next. Finally, somebody mentioned something I can segue to what the Phillies did to the Dodgers last night. Yeah, the cavalry returned. Bryce Harper Kyle Schwarber come back, and it was an absolute boon to the bats that have kind of been a little inconsistent there in Philadelphia. Funny enough, Harper didn't really contribute anything to the cause. 0 for 4, but Schwarber, he did get the 2-run single. He got himself walked as well, but it was Ice, Trey Turner, it was Brandon Marsh, it was Johan Rojas. So the names just keep stacking up. You can tell, guys, I'm excited about a win here in July that probably will just have the Dodgers even more pissed off when the NLCS rolls around. But man, 10-1 is not anything to turn your nose up at. We're looking today here at a little bit different of a pitching matchup. It's not like Christopher Sanchez has been bad, but Gavin Stone, Christopher Sanchez, neither of them are like a Wheeler that is going to be on the bump. Any thoughts here in this one, TB? I mean, I don't expect the same domination to happen this entire series, but as a Phillies homer, it was damn fun in game one. How do you see this one shaking out?
I expect this to shake out pretty much like it did yesterday, to be honest.
Really?
Sanchez and Stone, not exactly household names either, but in a very small sample size, Sanchez has decent numbers against Ohtani. And Stone has absolutely horrid numbers against these Philly batters. And another thing is, I expect Harper to get his bat going now. When Trey Turner came back, he didn't light it up right away. He took a couple games, but talent is talent. They're going to come around, and maybe not the first game back, but I expect the Phillies to put up quite a few runs against Stone. I'm not a big Stone fan, and that LA bullpen is really bad right now. So, I would expect a similar result today. Maybe not a 10-burger, maybe an 8-burger.
Yeah, and this is one, wind still going out, left center, 15 miles per hour, hot, humid, but there's also some storms that are potentially in the area. I don't think it'll affect getting the game in, but you might be looking at some shortened time on maybe the front end or the back end, but it should be fine as far as getting a full game, and just not sure about the start time on that one. Any thoughts here about the Dodgers and Phils for you, Bri? And then we're just going to circle back quick to a pitcher prop question that we had over on TikTok from Steven. But first, Dodgers and Phils for you, my man.
Yeah, as far as yesterday goes, Phillies were a show best bet on the morning wager, so was very happy to see that blowout victory. They don't come that easy every day when you're betting against the LA Dodgers, that's for sure. Look, you look at Sanchez's numbers at home, they're outstanding. 1.35 ERA. He's got a .90 whip, 5-1. So I think the Dodgers are going to struggle to score again. And you look at the WagerTalk odds screen, this number's moved from 9 to 9.5. I actually might play against that line move now that we're against the key number. I think this could be an under because I don't think the Phillies are going to score 10 again like they did yesterday. So Phillies bullpen, Dan, I don't need to tell you, they've been a lot better over the last month, 2.98 ERA. Yep. So, I think the Dodgers struggle to score again here in the city of brotherly love. My only concern with betting an under in a game at Philadelphia is the Phillies are the highest scoring team in the league at home by kind of a wide margin.
Well, if that's the case, and we have a point out here from Richard Lockhart and from Steven Utterbach, and Steven didn't love my segue. He said it was a little bit of a reach, which it surely was. But they're both saying, hey, well, if we are concerned about the Dodgers putting up runs, because let's be honest, it's not like the bats have been terrific, and it's not like they have all of their cavalry. We're talking about the players coming back for the Phils. Why, if we're worried about this total staying under because of their contributions, but we think that this game could potentially have the same potential as yesterday, Phillies team total over. I mean, what we're looking at 4.5. The number's a little bit juiced. 5.5 alt is where you're going to be able to get some plus money on it. TB, I'll start with you. Any thoughts on just isoming in on the Phils side of the total runs, or do you think there's enough to like about the Dodgers pitching to maybe keep you off of that?
I think that's a decent bet because, as I said earlier, the LA bullpen is just horrific right now. Anytime you got Joe Kelly in your bullpen, you have a bad one. And right now I have them ranked 28th out of 30 teams. Philly's lineup is just as good as LA's lineup, and LA's lineup is historically good when they have Mookie Betts, which they don't right now. But the Phillies have all their pieces, and it's game 2 back for Harper. So yeah, I think if anything, I'd bet a Phillies team total over here or a Phillies money line in this one. Not a client play, but certainly good bets for those two.
Yeah, and Harper, if you thought he looked a little gingerly at the plate, he was asked after the game, and he said, I'm kind of going to be taking it slow, all-star break right around the corner, and essentially the whole Phillies roster is being in the all-star break. So, I would be maybe concerned if you're trying to ISO in on, Harper, it's game 2, it's a bounce back for him. I think he's just seeing this as a little bit of a rehab stint, especially since they have some games in hand. TB, real quick, we're going to talk Milwaukee-Pittsburgh. We had a question about that over on TikTok, but we also had a question. I know you're great with these pitcher props. The clients have been very happy if they've been riding with you on these pitcher plays. Question from Steve on TikTok. He was looking at Shota Imanaga. How deep do you think he's going to go? You think he can go over 5.5 strikeouts? His number that I'm looking at is 4.5, heavily juiced to the over. So trying to find some plus money there, our man Steve. I don't hate the look. Any thoughts on how deep Imanaga is going to go and how many he can strike out against this Baltimore Orioles side?
So taking a look at Imanaga right now, his strikeout rate is 8.64 per 9 on the season. Not great, not horrible. The Orioles are striking out at about 7.35, so they're one of the more plate disciplined teams in Major League Baseball. What was the strikeout prop there? Was it 6.5?
No, so we're looking at 5.5 is what he was seeing for Imanaga. I'm seeing 4.5, but it's minus 185 to the over. So I'm not in the business of betting 185 pitcher props,
No, and if anything, I would bet an under in that because he did strike out 8 against Philly, but in his 2 starts before that, he only struck out 3 in each game. One of those he went 6 innings, and the 10 burger he gave up to the Mets, he only went 3 innings. Generally, if he goes 6 innings, if he goes into the 7th inning, he'll probably hit the over on that. I'd stay away from that prop. If it was 6.5, I'd bet the under, but 5.5 under is a little dicey because he could get to 6, but honestly, his strikeout rate is not that good. It's not like he's Skeens territory or anything like that. And the Orioles are fairly plate disciplined in recent form. If anything, I'd take an under, but 5.5, that's too dicey for an under.
Tristan Harrell over on TikTok is asking us about the Milwaukee game. He's saying he likes Milwaukee money line. We got a best bet coming up here in just a few moments in that Milwaukee and Pittsburgh game from our man Bryan Powers. So make sure you stick around. We got a play coming up for you in that one. Another game that keeps coming up, and folks love their nerfies and yerfies. Yes, run first inning, no run first inning. In a game that there was 21 runs scored yesterday. They won
Boston.
a nerfie here in Boston and Oakland. Bryan, any thoughts on having those bats maybe stay hot for Boston, but keeping them cold here at least in inning 1? It's going to be JP Sayers, the lefty, going up against Pavetta. So maybe they just see the names alone and say, let's play a little nerfie. I don't know. With how those bats are swinging for Boston, I don't know if I want to pick any inning that they're not going to get some runs in. What's the thoughts for you?
Yeah, and the weather conditions were so favorable last night, Dan, to hitting as we saw. I wouldn't be rushing to say there will be no runs scored in this half inning, this inning, this game, this inning. I know we've got a better starting pitching match. I know the Red Sox aren't quite as prolific at home as they've been on the road, but I don't know. That's not something that I would be looking to do right now based on what we saw last night, unless if you think, hey, everybody just brought the lumber last night, and they're for the first 6 outs, they're not going to swing it as well. I guess that I do contrarian plays a lot. We may have one coming up.
I was
here,
about to say,
and we talk about if we talk Yankees Rays, I'll make everyone vomit. But on this one, I'm staying away. I apologize.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you there. And if you're saying contrarian play and you can't get Brian Power on board, that's how you know it's a real sicko play. Oakland Athletics, Boston Red Sox for you, TB. I do you see potential for bats cooling down here a little bit? Doesn't look like the weather's cooling down here at all. So any thoughts on this game? Because I think as far as Nerfy goes, sure, it might hit, but that's not one that I would be looking and running to add to my card personally.
Yeah, I don't do Nerfies and Yerfies. Those are like crack cocaine of baseball betting. You can lose your money real quick or make your money real quick. I'd rather take a full game and relax, or even a first five. But I will say this: I don't expect the bats to cool down in this game because we have two of the worst bullpens in all of Major League Baseball in this one, and we have two pitchers who probably aren't going to last that long into the game. Recent form, I actually have the A's batting better than the Red Sox, but combined, they're both top 15 hitting teams. Pitchers, both very below average on the MLB median, and with the horrible bullpens, if anything, I'd go an over in this game. I don't know what the line is; it's not an official play. But yeah, I expect similar results to yesterday. Maybe not 21 runs, but definitely double-digit runs in this game, I would expect.
BP, I know that Tokyo Brandon, or you were mentioning about throwing up in your mouth about the Yankees there. TB actually has a best bet up that you can grab over at his page in that Rays and Yankees game, just $15. You can grab the play from our man Tokyo Brandon, who is number one MLB profit, up nearly 100 units. Yeah, that's almost 100 units, 98 units to be exact. I know people don't want me inflating the records there, but Rays and Yankees game, best bet over there for TB. You can grab it at his page, wt.buzz/TB, or got a great deal going on. We were running a 7 for 7 deal, $7 a day for a week of plays. How about $7 a day for 30 days of plays? And with the All-Star break coming up, if the guys don't have any plays, they pass there. Don't worry, your access going to get added to the end of the package. So 30 net days is what you're going to be getting of plays for just $7 a day. So sure, you can grab that $15 play from our man TB, or you can rock with a proven moneymaker with him or Bryan, $7 a day for 30 days of all access. But TB has a play in that Yankees game, so I won't put his feet to the fire. Folks can head on over to his page to find what he thinks. But Stroman and Eflin, and because of this Yankees slump, man, you're seeing plus money here on the Yankees against the Rays. So how the mighty have fallen. Any thoughts in this one? Total, I'm looking at pretty much paying it around 8 here in this one. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I don't know if it was because it was New York's favorite son, Mark Zinno, bullied me into it or not, but the Yankees, man, is this the bottom of the market on this team? Yeah,
it's buying low. That's for sure.
That was a good Zinno impression there, Dan. Yeah, look, they aren't an underdog often. They haven't been an underdog often since April. I don't know. I kind of think we might be getting close to the bottom market. I'm not the biggest Stroman fan. The team has won 6 of his last 8 starts, if you will. So, yeah, we talked about that on the morning wager, and that it might be getting to buy low time on the team wearing pinstripes with the vulture circling in the Bronx. Brian Cashman rearing his head around the proceedings. So we shall see. But Tampa Bay is a mercurial team this year. I know I am about to set the chat room ablaze because they go crazy every time I hit the hammer of run differential. But Tampa Bay being able to maintain a 500 record in spite of a horrific run differential that is basically equal to that of the last place Blue Jays is really eye-opening to me. Tampa Bay has excelled in one-run games this season. We know that. I just don't know. When I see a team who has 7 more actual wins than expected, they're not a team I'm looking to get behind, guys. Although, full disclosure, I bet the Rays over their season win total before the season and was ready to throw that ticket in the garbage at one point. But apparently, I don't know. They're going to make me sweat. We'll see how that goes. I think it's going to come all the way down to October.
Wow, the chat, Raven Ron, our man, going with the Yanks money line as well. Swing back to another game here before we talk best bets. Coming up in the best bet segment, we're gonna touch upon that Brewers and Pirates game. The chat over on TikTok is feverishly awaiting Brian Power's thoughts on that one. We're also going to talk game 2 here in Twins and the White Sox with Lopez and Thorpe. So that's coming up here in just a few. But first, Tyler was asking in the chat, do we got a dog barking in San Diego as Michael King is on the bump for the Padres? Bryce Miller opposing him, and Seattle flexed the muscle yesterday. If you think that this is a buy sign here for Seattle, getting them at this nice plus money price here against a Padres team that I still have some major questions for, especially when you finally got like Julio Rodriguez hitting, you got Cal Raleigh, he's homering from either side of the plate there. Seattle getting this plus money. TB, any thoughts in this one? Do we have a live dog again here in San Diego?
Yeah, Seattle's weak point had been their batting, but their bats have caught fire this last, 3 or 4 game stretch. So yeah, given, the pitcher's ERAs is one thing to go on, but King has a better ERA, but Miller's a better pitcher than King. Trevor Bauer is a better pitcher than all of them, and it's a shame that he's not in Major League Baseball, but he is starting today in Mexico against the Braves of León. He's 10-1 with a 1.7 ERA. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. I think Seattle would be a live dog here for that money. They're just a better overall team. They have a better bullpen. And I think Miller's a better pitcher. So, yeah, it's not an official play. But, yeah, I think Seattle's definitely a live dog in this one.
Yeah, well, we're not asking for all the official plays. I mean, every time we come on here in the morning, we move quickly as long as Adam Trigger isn't on, and he takes 25 minutes to break down one game. Straight shot for our man Trigger. But we touch upon pretty much every damn game here on the board. So, EB, we're just looking for the leans, for the little breakdowns. Yeah, I woke up choosing violence. Do we think BP Seattle's waking up choosing violence here again? I mean, that plus money price, it's shrinking, but it just seems like you got to take that with the little buy sign that we maybe saw last evening.
Well, I'll keep this short, Dan. I have seen you after all on the lacrosse field and what you can do, so I don't want any violence out of you. My initial thought was over King on his strikeout prop because while Seattle, as Tokyo Brandon mentioned, has been better at the plate recently. What's Seattle's bugaboo been all season? They strike out a lot. No team strikes out more.
Swinging for the fences.
Now, I bring all this up. It sounds very good. But guess what? The odds makers were not born yesterday. And Michael King, over 6.5 Ks, is juiced through the roof right now. I think it's minus 160 at DraftKings. So I don't really actually want to bet that number, quite frankly. So my immediate default that I went to, I don't want to do it, so I'll stop there because I don't want violence.
I don't want to do it.
Alexander.
I love that. Yeah, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. This is we don't force anyone to do anything they don't want to do here on First Pitch, except for Tokyo Brandon. We force him to stay up until 1 a.m. and break down baseball games in Tokyo. All right, boys, best bet. Let's get to it.
Quick fact. Can I throw in one quick fact to dissuade people from betting the King strikeout prop over? He's only gone over 6 strikeouts in one of his last 4 starts. So Seattle does strike out a lot, but I would 6.5 is, I think, a little too high there.
Yeah, it's definitely fair, and also like BP mentioned, I mean, make the numbers make sense when you have to lay crazy juice too at a bad number. You're not going to win long term doing that. So it might make sense. Again, he might go over it. It might be a fine bet to make. Is it a smart bet to make?
Gambling, man.
That's where we come in. Yeah, that's where we come in and try and make the distinction for the folks to help them build bankrolls there. TB, it's gambling, bro. Well, what is the best bet for you, bro? And tell folks about that play you got rocking here for $15 that they can take advantage of.
Yeah, I got to play in it's not the Yankees game. It's the Rays versus the Yankees, by the way. But I have a play in that game. And yeah, it's available on at WagerTalk. I'm number 1 in MLB profit in 2024. And I'm number one all sports profit 2 of the last 4 years, so not too shabby. I'm number 2 right now in baseball, or in all sports profit in 2024. Someone has taken my number 1 spot, but I'm going to get it back before the end of the year. I'll be number 1 at the end of this year. So my best bet for this game is going to be game 2 of the Twins and White Sox. Pablo Lopez going against Drew Thorpe. So the Twins, basically, I have them ranked number 1 in hitting in all of Major League Baseball. And I used to be a Major League scout, and I used the same database and the same peripheral numbers and metrics and all that when I rank my lineups, bullpens, and starting pitchers. I also take into account bunch of different things that I don't want to make this an Adam Trigger segment. So I have the Twins ranked number 1, and I have the White Sox ranked really mediocre. The White Sox are not as bad of a hitting team as people think they are. They're right in the middle of the pack, and they drift between, ranked number 13, ranked number 15. So their hitting is not the problem. Their problem is their bullpen. And if anyone has bet the White Sox this season, that their bullpen is absolutely horrific. You got pretty decent starting pitchers like Fetty and Cannon, and they got some guys who can come in and actually pitch good 5 innings. The problem is this bullpen, Kopech comes in and he's just like an automatic 3 runs. I mean, anytime that guy comes in, you can bank on 3 runs for the other team. Their bullpen is just horrific. And today, Drew Thorpe, I have him ranked 20 out of 30 pitchers on a curve. So Pablo Lopez, I got him ranked 11. So only way to go in this game would be the Twins. If the juice is too high, a -1 is a really good bet, because -1 is less risk than a -1.5. If you take a -1, which is available on most books, I know DraftKings, if you click the game lines, you can scroll down to the bottom and you can actually select your -1, -1.5, -2. And so -1 is very safe, because if your team wins by 1, it's a push. And if they win by 2, you win, rather than the run line where if you win by 1, you lose. So I like the Twins -1 in this game. They got the best lineup in all of Major League Baseball, according to recent form combined with season form. They have the better bullpen and they have the better starter. It's, sometimes you don't have to make this more difficult than it is. So I'm going with the Twins in game 2 of the Twins-White Sox game.
Twins in the second game, says our man Tokyo Brandon. You can check out his best bet while you're hanging out with us. Hit that like button, whether you're joining us on X, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure you hit us with that following. And if you're over on YouTube, subscribe and that little bell. You'll never miss when we go live here. BP, shut it down for us, man. Let us know what you've got rocking. The soccer run on the pitch has been a beautiful thing for you and your clients. You do have a best bet for the folks here in MLB tonight, but let them know about the play you got up that they can grab, and they can grab 30 days of all access for just $7 a day. They've been waiting with bated breath. Brewers, Pirates, how the hell we bet in this game?
We'll get to that in just a second. But yes, Dan, it has been a tremendous run in soccer. 32-12 on the pitch. Going back to mid-April, number 1 all soccer at WagerTalk during that time. Number 2 over the last 365 days in soccer. Not only do I have that 4% best bet in soccer, but I've got 3 MLB plays locked and loaded here on Wednesday. I gave you one of them already, the White Sox +1.5, and I'm going to give you another right now. I am in a giving mood here today, I suppose, on the program. It is Brewers Pirates. I was a bit shocked, Dan, see the Brewers fall 12-2 in last night's series opener. I know Colin Ray was due for some regression, but the situation was pretty favorable to Milwaukee, wasn't it? They were at home following an off day. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh, no off day for them between series, because remember, on Monday, they finished a 4-game wraparound against the Mets. Now, it was close early on, 2-2 game heading into the 6th last night between these teams, but that's when Ray imploded. He allowed 5 straight singles. Joey Bart grand slam after that. That was all she wrote. But I think it's pretty likely we see the home team bounce back tonight. Now, I'm not going to play Brewers money line. I know that's what the commenter was thinking at I'm going to go in a different direction because I am a little skeptical of Tobias Harris. Harris, he allowed 4 runs his last time out. Now, that was in Colorado. Always comes with an asterisk. But he also has a 4.97 ERA at home. He's given up 10 home runs in 64 innings pitched as well. So let's leave him out of the equation, Dan, and just focus solely on this Brewers offense. Top 5 this season in runs per game at home at 5.07. They had the rough night last night, just 2 runs, 2 for 14 with runners in scoring position. So I'm calling for the bounce back from the Brewers offense today because they're facing Martin Perez. Last time they faced Perez, how about 9 runs and 11 hits in 5 innings, including 5 homers? That was right here at American Family Field. 4 career appearances against the Brewers. Perez has an 8.31 ERA. That is not good. So some of those games were a while ago, but we fast forward back to the present. Perez is just not having a good year overall, particularly on the road. 5.97 ERA, 1.67 whip. The Pirates' bullpen has been having issues as well, especially lately with Bednar out, unavailable. He's not back yet from an injury. For the year, the Pirates' pen, 4.43 ERA. That's 6th worst in all of baseball. Bottom line, I expect the Brewers to hit their season average of 5 runs at home tonight. So take them over the team total of 4.5. That is your show best bet. And if you didn't get enough of me here, by God, I'm going to stay right in this seat, Dan, because I'm on Wager Talk today at the top of the hour.
No, we got enough of you. It's okay. We'll
yeah,
be good.
There we
go.
Joe is still paying attention. Yes, that's nice. I just wanted to make sure.
In a giving mood is our man Bryan Power, giving you over 4.5 total runs for the Brewers. That's the best bet for BP. He's got a best bet on the pitch going tonight. You can check it out over at his page. Tokyo Brandon going with the Twins in Game 2. The best bet for him. You want the true best bets? Check these guys out over at WagerTalk.com. While you're hanging out with us, make sure you hit that like button. Hit us with the follow. We got Wager Talk today coming 12 minutes from now. That's right. We went a little bit late here, getting you some baseball winners. So we appreciate you hanging out with us. For Tokyo Brandon, for Bryan Power, I'm Dan Alexander. Best of luck, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow right back here on First Pitch.